All right, we are going to talk about the Silverleaf system, the main control panel in the Newmar New Aire 3343. I've had this unit for about 1 day, I guess maybe 2 now. So I'm by no means an expert on this, but I love pressing buttons. I've been through just about all of this, so hopefully this is helpful. All right, so we're on the home screen now. And you know that because the button is in black. The rest of them, at least on the left side, these are menu options. The ones that are in blue are the ones that you're not selected into right now. The items in blue to the right have gray circles around them. Those are actually switches. So if you hit those, they'll turn green. They can also turn other colors depending on whether you've actually turned something on, put it in standby, or anything of that nature. Other things on this main home screen here, you can see I've got a yellow alarm here for the fresh tank. It's below a certain threshold. I believe that is settable. I'm also guessing that there are alarms for the other tanks as well in other conditions. I believe there's a setup for that in here, which I haven't actually really played with. The date and the time and the exterior temperature, the levels of your fresh gray and black tanks, the house batteries and the chassis batteries, and then I'm on shore power. I've got 50 amp service here. I'm parked at my house. So that's pretty much it for the home screen. So we're going to drop down to the AC power. A little bit more information. I have found that this the hertz reading here runs a couple of hertz high. No matter if I'm on generator or on shore, anyone else's shore power, it's always reading a couple of hertz high. I think that's just a monitoring issue. Anyway, so maximum charger draw is set for 30 amps. You can use that to make sure you're not going to overload your service. You can use load shed to get in and customize that a little bit. So I have a capacity of 50 amps at the moment. Obviously, again, how much power is coming in my legs at the moment. And if you hit the loads tab, this is pretty cool. You can see what loads are on which leg. So the engine heater leg 1, the water heater leg 2, water heater number 2 is on leg 2, and water heater number 1 is on leg 1. The Oasis system, if you're using AC, has actually 3 settings, 3 options for where you can draw energy from to heat it. So diesel, AC leg 1, and AC leg 2, and you can individually select all of those. So that's why you see that listed twice here. The 3 floor heat zones and the air compressor, the air conditioning rather. So that's good information. And then you can actually drop into settings, and this is if you are using like a dog bone adapter. You can say I'm on 30 amps with the adapter. If you're on 30 amp service, or if maybe you're down onto 15 amp service, you can customize that. If you're on dual phase, you can also adjust that if that's not actually a 50 amp service. And you can also change whether your phase detection is automatic or not. So basically this is really the difference between 120 service and 240 service. The coach itself, even though it's connected to 240 service, doesn't deliver 240 into the unit. It essentially splits the 2 legs of 240 into 2 separate 120 circuits, which is why you see leg 1 and leg 2. It's also why you see things like the inverter covers one leg but not the other, for that reason and for just capacity reasons. So you can think of a 50 amp coach that has only 120 inside. There are some high-level coaches that have actual 240 inside for the dryer, the clothes dryer, for example. But you can think of a 50 amp coach as having basically 100 amps of service. That's a good way to distinguish between, to really get an idea of the difference between 30 amp service and 50 amp service. It's a little misleading. You've got 30 amps at 120. But on 50 amp service, you have 50 amps at 240, or the equivalent of 100 amps at 120. So there's, it's basically comes down to 100 amps versus 30 amps. We'll move on to DC power. My batteries are in float mode, pumping 23 amps in. The voltage, the temperature of the batteries, the charger's turned on. You know, if you come in and hit that option, you can change settings about the inverter. So there are multiple pages to these settings. So the inverter status is standby, charger status float. So you've got a bunch of settings you can come through here. I don't actually know precisely what all of these mean, so I'm not going to. I'm going to skip over something that I don't know because I don't want to mislead anyone. So the one thing I'm going to note here, if we go back, so I'm at the bottom of the page here. If we go back and we come back into the settings, we're still at the bottom of the page. This has bitten me a number of times where I'm like, I know there's more settings here. I'm going down. There aren't anymore. It's remembered where you are. There's no scroll bar to indicate that you're at the bottom of the page. So if you're hitting down and nothing's coming up, just make sure you hit up as well to make sure you're not at the bottom of the page when you think you're at the top, or vice versa. So under advanced, Silverleaf has provided me this password. I don't know if it's public information for the purposes of the video, I'm going to not show it. But if it is public information, I will share that with you. So you got your some additional settings for cutouts and the battery type. This was important to me. The unit ships with AGM. At some point, I plan to convert to lithium iron phosphates. If you go through here, you'll see that there's options for gel, for flooded, and for custom. And if you select custom and wait, eventually the custom button will come up, and you can go into custom and set all the voltages that are appropriate for your battery. So that's really good. What I don't see here are how long to stay at any particular between absorption, bulk, and float. So usually I think, if I recall correctly, you would just set the voltages to be the same. And we're going to put that back to AGM. Can't talk and think at the same time. So, all right. Battery capacity, charge cycle. That's interesting. So maybe this is where you can get rid of one of your stages if it doesn't make sense for your battery type. Oh, yep, and your absorption time. Sorry, so you can't set that in here. I misspoke. That's good. Lots and lots of settings. So you can read. So I'm not going to read them all to you. Stack mode. It looks like this supports having multiple inverters. So this is my guess. If you wanted to add an additional Xantrex 3012, you could, in order to give you 6,000 watts of power, and power the other leg if you wanted to run more than you can at the moment. So that's that. So make sure I didn't change anything here. We'll go back. Equalize. I have no idea what this does. If you press it, there's a please confirm. So I have not hit yes, I mean it, because this looks like it could possibly be a little dangerous. So I'm not going to do that. All right, done with that. Genset, start and stop. I'm not sure if this 628 is how long the generator has run for, or if that's when it was stopped. I'm guessing that's how long it has been running for. I should probably go out and check to see the runtime on the unit itself. You can turn on and off your auto gen start, AGS. So if it is set, it'll show that it's on. If you want to clear all the settings, you can clear the AGS here, your engine RPM speed, and the temperature. Water, your same indicators here. You can turn your water pump on and off here. You can turn your water pump on and off in no less than 3 locations in the New Aire. There's one in the bathroom, there's one near the kitchen, there's one here, and there may be more, probably outside in the wet bay as well, at least. And then your autofill. If you use autofill, if you want this to work, the wet bay switch also needs to be set to automatic. Climate. Outside temperature shows here. My cooling and heat are both off at the moment. and I have all rooms selected. So this controls the temperature sort of for the entire coach, but if you wanted to set the forward and rear areas or the bathroom differently, you can do that here. So if you select into living room, you'll also get a little bit more information. So it says it's 66 degrees in the living room. I think my sensors or the calibration is wrong, and it's definitely warmer than 66 in the living room. I had the same problem in the bedroom. It is warmer than 66. The bathroom tends to read correctly. So what that's meant for me is that instead of setting the heat to 68 like I usually do, I have to set it closer to like 63 for the for the actual temperature I want. So and here you can also set it your auto gen start to come on if you if the system calls for air conditioning and you don't have shore power, it'll start the generator for you. So that's how you can set that up. You can also change. You can also just run the fan if you wanted to. So if you hit fan here, it'll turn it on. The other thing you can do, it's currently in automatic mode, is you can say forced high or forced low. So you can hopefully hear that. We're back to auto, and the fan indicator will show if it's actually running. Set your temperatures here. Again, turn your cooling on or off if you wanted to, and so you have these same sets of controls for both the living room and the bedroom. The bath, you only have a heat option, and if you're in the all mode, you can select auto, which will turn on cooling and heating at the same temperature, and it will try to keep the coach at the correct temperature using whatever method necessary. You also have access to your Oasis button here, and if you remember, I mentioned that there are 3 options for energy, where you get your energy from. So you can use the diesel burner. I currently have that off because it's grayed out on either side. I have AC leg 1 and 2 both turned on. That is enough for me, at least for me. When I first turned the Oasis on, I used the burner to get everything up to temperature quickly. But after the burner shut off, I turned the burner off here as well, and I've just been running on AC power since then. Because the burner is a little bit loud. It's a little quieter than a generator, but it is mid-coach, so it tends to be a little bit more noticeable. It's certainly not too loud, and hopefully at some point I'll be able to actually give a demonstration of that running, and maybe some you can hear it too. Although I know that sound transmitted over the camera is not going to give you an accurate feel. So anyway. I have been running sort of my life on just AC power for the burner, just running the hot water, in the kitchen or for my shower. In fact, I didn't run out of hot water just being on AC power either, so that's good. Pretty sure if you've got the burner on, there's basically no way to run out of hot water in this thing. All right, back to I was on water. Sorry, I was on climate to get there, so I'm going to go down to floor. Real simple. You can just set your 3 zones of floor heat. You've got a lot of different options. You've got a storage option, and you've got basically 1 through 10. Looks like you have to tap that. So I have definitely used this. It's been really awesome. So glad that there's floor heat in the coach. Makes waking up and stepping on the tile really nice, and also stepping out of the shower is really awesome with a warm floor. Features. So, little note here, a little problem I ran into. The Rosie Telematics Gateway option was not here on the feature menu list. The list of options that you see here are the result of programming that tells the system what you have installed and what should be available in the menu system. So I actually had to call Silverleaf, and they walked me through a really simple process to get that back on, and then I could go in here and configure Rosie and get that working. I'm going to have a separate video on Rosie because I think it deserves its own video. I'm just going to come in here and show that you can come in. You've got some status information, you've got general configuration information, diagnostics and things like that. So I'm not going to get into that here. So again, remember, if you came in here and you were at the bottom of the screen and you click features, it remembers that you were at the bottom of the screen. You might hit the down arrow button and you're like, where are all my features? just remember to go up. Set your clock, or show your clock. You know, some diagnostic information. You'll notice here it says page 1 of 3, so you can hit next and see some more information here. And this is where you can reboot the TM102 module or the HMS and reboot this screen. I'll go back to features. Monitor configuration. So let's go back again. I remembered where it was. So there's 15 pages here. So monitor configuration, the first page you get your time settings. So set my time, my date, the day of the week. Next page, you can set when the display sort of times out and what the idle screen during the day is, and what daytime is considered to be, and how bright you want it to be. So during the day you want the screen to look a particular way. During the night you want the screen to look differently, and that's defaults, at least for me, to 10 o'clock. Shows me the clock, and the display turns darker, so that it's not projecting a lot of light in the night. Page 4, we've got you can set your color schemes for the buttons. Lots of options there. Whether or not you click, whether or not it clicks. It is set to click, as you can see here. There's no way you're going to hear that on a camera. It's very, very faint, so it's not disruptive to anybody inside, even with the click turned on. Alarms. I have not played with this at all. So they're currently disabled. I can't talk about that stuff yet. I don't really know what they do. Again, we've got that password here. It's the same password as before, and you get access to another looks like 9 pages of information, or settings. So I've not played with most of any of these really. You probably generally don't want to, because this should be set up for the hardware that you have in your coach. But if you do add modules or change your hardware, I suspect you'll be in here to tell Silverleaf that you've made some changes. So the reason I was in here was because the Silverleaf support team told me to come in here in order to turn on Rosie telematic support. This was set to off for some reason. Newmar forgot to set it, or something went wrong. So I had to come here, turn this on, and after that, then I had that Rosie telematics menu option before that you saw earlier. So save your settings, restore saved settings, reset the default, and another place to restart this screen. So, all right, back to, I think that was the end of, let's see, that was monitor, sorry, auto Gemstar configuration. Let's start over here so that you're not confused. Back into features. Remember, it remembers where we are. So this is page 1, page 2, auto Gemstar configuration. So you can set up, do you want it to charge if your batteries get low? Do you want it to exercise the generator once a month? And do you want it to start up due to climate control calls? There are 4 pages of AGS. So the setting, when you want it to start from a battery perspective, how long you want it to run for, and all kinds of good stuff here. So you can also program in your quiet times. So if you're at a campsite with quiet times, it won't run the generator during those times. And then, what day of the week do you want the exerciser to run, what time to run it, and how long to run it. AC power history. I'm guessing that this is only got 1 line of information because I have rebooted this, so I suspect this information gets cleared on reboot. Autofill configuration. Oops, sorry. I actually have not been in this menu before, so let's learn together. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, so you can set that up there. Floor heat configuration. I don't see, unless you really wanted to change the name, you can do that here. We'll go down another page. So we've got configuration for warnings. Notice this, I'm on page 2 of 2, so remember to look up here to see if there's a previous or next button, because you might think there's, You might think that's the only setting. I've made this mistake a lot of times here, so make sure you're watching for those buttons. Fresh tank warning, so that's why I've got a yellow light, because it's under 25%, and then you can get your gray and black tank warnings. At 75, you can adjust those obviously in your battery warnings, and there's no LP in the New Aire, so that does nothing. Climate configuration, I have not played with this at all. Scheduling, secondary heat management, I suspect this might be the Silverleaf controlling both the heat pumps and the Oasis with respect to, if the outside temperature drops too low, it'll use the Oasis because the heat pumps won't be efficient enough or even function if it gets too cold. And as I suspected, that is also password protected. Yeah, probably nothing you're going to mess with in here. I think these are basically just, lots of config settings that you probably generally won't be changing, but it's possible to do that if you change your hardware or something like that in here. Lots of good stuff in here. Back to features. I think that was it for climate. Yep. This is basically just, this looks like the TM102 Silverleaf, master controller is, telling it, hey, what options do I have connected? It knows about the generator, an autofill, the water pump, auto gen start, some of these, I don't know what the charging bridge, I'm guessing, the Xantrex inverter, and some other stuff. So I don't know how to actually change these. Maybe this is just automatic. If it senses it's out there, it'll show up, but a good way to see sort of all the things that are connected to your Silverleaf system. Component versions. So the engine is off, so the list here is going to be different than if the engine were on. I have definitely seen multiple pages to... Oh, see, yeah, the last time I ran this, there was only one page, and now there are, wow, multiple... Oh, that's not a page. I think it looks like it's just scrolling that top line, because I don't really know what that's doing. That's kind of weird. So... the VMS is showing in here, so it might not make a difference if the engine's on or off. I'm not entirely sure, because there is some Silverleaf stuff up there as well. Anyway, so if you just want information about the modules, it is seeing, and the versions, you can see that here. Miscellaneous settings. There is only one here. There's no previous or next paging, so just park brake, auto lock, is turned on. So if you hit the, I believe that is if you release the parking brake, it'll auto lock everything. I think that's what that's for. That's the screen that shows up when you boot it, in case you want to see it for some reason. Test the touch screen. You can make sure that it's sensing everything it's supposed to. Go back into features, and that's it for features. So we'll go home. So that's it as far as all the menu items you're going to get into. Like I said, you can turn on your generator, your autofill, your water pump, auto gen, the block heater if it's plugged in, and all of your locks. You can dim the unit at multiple levels, and you can also access the cameras. So just touch the screen to swap between cameras, and then touch and hold the screen to get back to the main menu. So in a 25-minute nutshell, that is the Silverleaf control panel for the Newmar New Aire. I have the 3343 layout. I doubt that really changes anything with respect to this panel. So that's it. Thanks for watching.